Hey, good morning. Chillie Falls here for cruise industry news for June the 22nd, 2019. It's 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning. I'm coming to you from Forest, Virginia, in the first construction part of my little studio was completed yesterday. So I'm in a little better situation for the live broadcast than I've been. Most of you know at times I'm broadcasting from my bedroom, and you could see the bed in the background, and that was just not very professional. So we're trying to get a little bit better studio. Still got to work some on the lighting. I'm not real happy with that. Um, of course, I'm working with a new camera that I'm trying to get used to. So we're getting better as we roll along through this. So if this is your first time on this channel, welcome to you all. We'd love to have you enter a comment as to where you're coming from. Comment about anything that would be fine with me. This channel, we talk about cruising and travel of all sorts. So if you're interested in the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, travel of any sort, in any fashion, anywhere, literally in the world, you're liable to find some information here on that. We try to keep it fun and enjoyable, and if you have questions or thoughts or comments, be sure to put them in the comment section, whether it's on the live broadcast or on the video, which will be posted within minutes of stopping. But welcome to all who are out there. We'll get ready to get started. I've got several things we want to talk about this morning. And maybe some information on a bargain for you guys, which I found actually earlier this morning. We'll get to that in a minute. One thing to point out, those of you that know me know that I'm in at my farm. It's a family farm. It's been in the family for a long time. Possibly goes back to Thomas Jefferson. We're not 100% sure on that one, but it's in all likelihood originally was owned by Thomas Jefferson, or actually Thomas Jefferson's wife. But anyway, my house itself is the old family farmhouse. Started off as a 3-room cottage, which was constructed in 1904. And as a matter of fact, my room, which we lovingly call the cave, the room that I'm in right now, is one of the old rooms. So I'm in the oldest part of the house. We've, over the years, between what my mother and father did, started off with my grandparents, of course. They had the first renovation to the house, and then my mother added on a couple times. And then my sister and I have now, I've been here 30 years, have added on several times. So the house now is a whole lot bigger than it was. The reason I'm pointing all that out is if you hear some background noise this morning, I've got workmen outside. They're actually treating and pressure washing the house today. So you're liable to hear the pressure washer going in the background. If you do, just ignore it. It's not very loud in here, but he could actually get over to where he's working right literally on my window, which is 4 feet to the left here. So if you hear that, that's one thing. The other thing that you might hear, and at any time on any of my live broadcasts, this one's a possibility, is Brat the cat. Brat the cat runs this household with a big stick. He's 23 years old. He probably has a little kitty dementia. He's healthy as a horse, we just found out this week, although he's deaf as a coot. So he has a tendency to walk around the house and yowling just for the sake of doing it, I guess. Now, he's all excited today because Stanley and is outside working. So he's running around from window to window to make sure that he approves of what they're doing outside. He's strictly an indoor cat. But so he was all excited about that. Well, just a couple minutes before I went live, he's at my door yelling because I've got the door closed to try to keep some background noise off of this. So he was outside yelling because he didn't like the door closed, because he can't come in here and boss me around, which he tends to do at all times. So you could hear anytime you could hear Brat the cat. And if I haven't thought about closing the door when I do this, Brat the cat's allowed to hop up here on the computer and start chatting. He's been known to do that too. But anyway, that's Brat the cat. So you could hear him in the background. So anyway, getting on down to business. The first story I wanted to talk about, actually, I just found out about it late yesterday. As you know, I do these live broadcasts on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 10 a.m. And then if something happens in between time, I try to maybe stick a video up if it's something majorly important. We also have the Chili Chats, like I did a live broadcast actually day before yesterday on Thursday morning when I finished my interview with Christy from Sydney, Australia. So that went live. So there might be more episodes of live stuff than just the Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, which is primarily a combination of cruise industry news and Chili Chats, because Chili Chats does not necessarily have a guest. So it might just be me running my mouth, which hopefully there's something worthwhile coming out. Anyway, apparently this happened several days ago, and I just somehow missed out on the story until last night. So an Irish woman apparently fell overboard from her cruise ship in Italy and was rescued by a brave crew member who dived into the sea and saved the woman. The MSC Seaview cruise ship was in port at the Italian city of Genoa when the Irish woman fell overboard. A staff member who was a skilled sailor saw her fall into the Mediterranean, quickly reacted, dived in, and rescued the lady. She, of course, was, they say she was actually recovered in minutes, and the medical staff provided the first medical care on board. And shortly thereafter, she was taken ashore for further medical attention. And I have no idea if she was hurt any further than that. I have not heard anything further. But I just thought it was a pretty cool story when you got a staff member saw this woman go overboard. Now, we don't know why she went overboard. They're not saying much about that. So, I mean, you know, as well as I do, whether it was accidental or a suicide situation, I don't know. I just don't know. But anyway, the woman went overboard. It's a little hard to be a total accidental thing to fall off a cruise ship. I've been on a lot of them, and I've never come close to falling off one, especially in port. You know, there's no movement. But so we don't have any of those details, at least I don't. But I just thought it was a good story, which also leads into the second thing that I wanted to talk to today. Has to do with MSC also. It has nothing to do with this situation in Italy, although that was a good story. With cruise lines in general pouring more and more money into developed private islands, there's been more of an uproar over environmental issues than ever. And the cruise industry for years has been getting pounded by the environmentalists because of Rightly so. I'm not saying wrongly. Rightly so. The cruise industry has polluted the air, has polluted the seas over and above normal acceptable standards. They've tried to cover it up. You know, we all know Carnival's been involved in litigation for a long time now over that issue. It's becoming more and more prevalent, and it's becoming a bigger issue now than it ever has been. So the cruise lines that are all trying to build a private island, there are concerns, environmental concerns with that happening. So MSC has been developing Ocean Cay, which will begin welcoming visitors this coming November. So that we're moving right along toward a completion date for Ocean Cay. There are, on Ocean Cay, there's 8 beaches to explore, plus a spa described as being a completely different experience from the ones found on MSC ships. They'll allow guests to be pampered while surrounded by the beauty of nature. Interestingly, when it comes to water sports, Ocean Cay will not offer typical motorized toys, but rather natural ways to enjoy the environment, such as stand-up paddleboarding and kayaking. MSC is seriously trying to consider the environmental issues with the construction and development of Ocean Cay. So far, they have removed 7,500 tons of scrap metal from the island and the surrounding ocean bed, having it transported to a licensed waste contractor. They also had a crew of marine biologists who have overseen a lot of this work, and expert divers on hand to remove and relocate coral colonies so they would be able to thrive in new environs. Moving forward, Ocean Cay will serve as a base from which marine biologists can conduct research into coral restoration. The island will also host a purposely built convention center equipped with labs and facilities for coral research and education. Kudos to MSC. Now, I realize that this is information coming from MSC, and I realize that sometimes that goes through colored glasses. But at least they appear to be a lot more involved and worried about the environment than many cruise lines have been in the past and are just now getting that way. Had to get a sip of Diet Coke there. So, hats off to MSC. The ship that was involved with the lady going overboard was the MSC Seaview, which is a sister ship to Seaside and the Vina. I assume it stays over in Europe. I haven't checked where all it sails. I've not seen it in our part of the world, but that could change also. But anyway, hats off to MSC. It looks like they're doing some neat things with Ocean Cay. Now, here's one that I think is just a bit ridiculous. The recently transformed Carnival Sunrise has made an inaugural cruise at a popular Eastern Caribbean port. The Carnival cruise ship has made an inaugural call at the Eastern Caribbean port of Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. The reason this one just caught my attention, I love BVI. That's probably my favorite island. I love Tortola. One of my favorite bars is there. I'm really a fan of British Virgin Islands. So that's what caught my eye. Now, the Sunrise is based in New York for the time being. So it visits Tortola during an 8-day cruise from its current home port in New York. The ship offers a range of itineraries from the Big Apple and will reposition down south to Fort Lauderdale in October. Carnival Sunrise will sell cruises to the Caribbean and Bahamas and will remain that way until spring of 2020, and it'll go back to New York. So it's going to split time between New York and Fort Lauderdale. The thing is, we all know what Carnival Sunrise is. Carnival Sunrise was a Carnival Triumph that's been around for years and years and years. And they just did a massive refurbishment and they renamed it. And then they had a big ceremonies for the renaming. And they have made a big to-do over it when it got to New York the first time. So here they made a big to-do over getting to Tortola for the first time. They had some kind of an award ceremony, and they presented the captain with I don't know, a naked dancing girl. Who knows what they presented the captain with? You know, folks, this isn't a new ship that's there for the first time. Its new name is there for the first time. I just think it's a little bit ridiculous that they're milking the fact that I think they're over milking the fact of the Carnival Sunrise being new. It's new in name. It's the same ship. Yeah, it's fixed up. There's some new stuff on it. It still holds 2,900 passengers. So anyway, I'm not real fond of the way Carnival is handling the Sunrise. I mean, just sell the cruises and take care of people and take care of the environment while you're doing it. Okay. Here's another one that caught my eye. You're dreaming of taking a cruise to Tahiti or Bora Bora? One cruise line is offering a special deal that on cruises that includes free airfare and 50% off standard all-inclusive cruise fares. Now, we all know that this is a sales job. 50% off of what? 50% off of the lowest price, or 50% off of a published price, or 50% off of whatever the guy with the pencil that wrote the ad said. However, if you're careful, you can get bargains every now and then. This is one that's pretty cool. Paul Gauguin Cruises. Now, that's not on the tip of everybody's tongue. They are what I call a boutique cruise line. They're small, they're high end. The ships are small, much fewer passengers usually. And because of it's a smaller ship and smaller number of passengers, you can go to a lot more exotic ports and places than the big cruise ships go. So there's a place for boutique cruises. Now, if you're a bargain shopper for cruises, this isn't the place for you. Look at it this way. If Carnival Cruise Line is the Walmart of cruising, then a cruise company like Paul Gauguin is Saks Fifth Avenue of cruises. Small, much more expensive, not mass market, but they go neat places. And yeah, it's going to be expensive. Expensive to me. I'm more of a bargain type guy. I try to go as cheaply as I can. But anyway, they got neat cruises in and around Tahiti next year, January, February, March. I don't have the exact prices on it. I know they're offering a $500 shipboard credit per stateroom. It's, you know, if you want to go on a top-notch, top dollar, fancy cruise, this might be a good place for you. They are offering free airfare. Of course, that's really good. So, Paul Gauguin Cruises. If you're ever interested in any of these things that I mentioned online, leave me a comment. I'll get back to you. I can get you prices I can take care of booking it for you if you need me to. Or if you want to use your own cruise people, that's fine too. But anyway, that information is always available and we can get it and go on from there. Okay, Paul Gauguin Cruises, if you want to go to Tahiti. This is the story that just Elizabeth, I feel the big one coming. Norwegian Cruise Line, last they announced they are stopping all-inclusive bar program on Norwegian Sky and Norwegian Sun, effective for voyages after September the 7th. They couldn't even wait till the 9th, which is my birthday. As a matter of fact, I had hoped to be on, I was hoping to be on the Norwegian Sun in September. Of course, I was hoping to go to Cuba in September, but that's a whole different story. Anyway, Norwegian said in a statement that any guest sailing on the Sun or the Sky after November 7th who booked a cruise which included free open bar at the time of purchase will still be able to enjoy the unlimited open bar. So they're not going, if you've already booked the cruise, you're still good. Guests sailing the two ships may continue to enjoy unlimited open bar as well as complimentary specialty dining, shore excursion credits, free Wi-Fi, the option to have friends and family sail free, and free or reduced airfare through the brand's ongoing Free at Sea program. Now, what happened, folks? The Sky and the Sun were both primarily 3- and 4-day, what is known kind of in the trade as weekend cruises, out of Miami, mostly to the Bahamas, although they started doing some to Cuba. And they, obviously with free booze to all, they became a good party boat. So you wanted this, especially the younger crowd, you know, the 20s and 30s group, wanted to go for a good party and weekend. Yeah, here was a great place to do it. So back about 5-6 months ago, Norwegian announced that they were stopping similar programs on some of the European cruises, and it affected some of my friends from the British Isles in particular. So I'm not surprised to see this happening. Obviously, that's a promotion by Norwegian that's costing them too much money. You know, they're giving away free drinks to everybody, and it's hurting their bottom line. So they cut it out starting after September the 7th. There still will be packages that are available that have the free bars in them, but obviously that's tied into the price of the cruise. And so I'm sure the bottom line is you're going to pay more for the cruise if you got free booze. So it's not going to be just their absolute bottom price. I'm a little bit surprised at this because, you know, a lot of these cruise lines, cruise companies that were dealing with Cuba are having some real problems with the ships, which brings me up to the final story for today. As you know, I have been working on changing my website over, getting rid of the Cuba cruises. And I was today, as a matter of fact, early this morning, working on Empress of the Sea, which is a Royal Caribbean ship that sailed from Miami to Cuba. There's several itineraries, 4-day, a 5-day, a 6-day cruises to Cuba. And I happened to be working this morning on what was I called it the Miami Santiago de Cuba cruise, which it stopped in Havana for 2 nights and Santiago de Cuba for one night and Cienfuegos for one night. I believe there were 3 ports in Cuba on the 6-day cruise. So I checked on the current schedule, current itineraries, and found out that it's primarily been switched over to, for most of the dates, to an Eastern Caribbean cruise. Now remember, these ships, they're older. That's what they were using because the Cuba was a hot market and it can only handle smaller ships. So these are not the big, huge super cruisers that are available now, the big fancy new ones. These are older ships. They're a little smaller, but they worked for Cuba. And that was a big portion of business for all the cruise lines that were going into Cuba. Royal Caribbean with the Empress of the Sea is clearly one of those. So all of a sudden, one whack, they had to change everything to different ports. So then you had to balance out the number of other ships already scheduled into ports and what the maximum capacity is on ships per day. And so it's been a headache for these guys to do it. And it's still not completed. But what I found out about this particular cruise, the Santiago de Cuba cruise, that's what I called it, is that it is now a 6-day Eastern Caribbean cruise. It stops at Coco Cay, it stops at San Juan, it stops at St. Croix and St. Thomas. So 2 U.S. Virgin Island ports out of Miami. The date that I had on my website was December the 16th. And I think the prices started at about, I want to say $600, maybe $560 for an inside cabin, and then went up. Remember, the Cuba prices were not cheap. So this particular cruise, and there are 4 or 5 dates. There's one date in July, sailing in July, that is almost sold out. Then there's an August date, a September date, an October date, and the December 16th date. And the prices are bottom drawer. I mean, you're talking about a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-day cruise now. Is that correct? 8-day cruise. It's changed to an 8-day cruise. 8-night cruise, rather. 8-night cruise starts at $365. Folks, that's less than $50 a night. So there's like 4 dates that are dirt cheap. So in the description down here below at the bottom of this, when this gets posted up as a video, there'll be a link to my website, so you can go take a look at the December 16th date, and it's got the dates of the other sailings. But they're all in that same vicinity, starting at like less than $400 for an 8-night cruise. So that's something that if you like a bargain, and there's a good ports, you know, Coco Cay with all the changes they've made there. San Juan is still recovering from the hurricanes, but has gotten a lot closer to normal. St. Croix and St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, are 2 great ports. So there's a bargain, folks, or a really good bargain. So you can always contact me, and we can work a deal out, or get you booked, or get you the information you need to get to your cruise provider or whatever. The other interesting thing that came out of this is that the Empress of the Sea has nothing scheduled after December 31st. They got nothing scheduled next year at all in 2020. Does that mean that they're decommissioning the Empress of the Seas? Does that mean they're selling the Empress of the Seas? Does that mean they're, I don't know. a lot of these older ships now are being thrown into the mass market, into the competing with the bigger cruise ships and going to the hot spots as far as ports of call. And maybe they're seeing some changes need to be made in the future. So I don't know what it means, but Empress of the Sea has nothing scheduled in 2020. So that's about it for today. I've probably gone along a little longer than I had anticipated for a Saturday morning. Anyway, if you're new to this channel, want to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, chilly chats, cruise industry news, or anything in the general travel area, love to have you hit the little subscribe button. It's down in the lower right hand corner. You'll be joining 1,296 people. That was my subscriber count as of this morning. So we should be at 1,300 this weekend. That's not a huge channel, but we've certainly come a long way in this past year and hope to continue growing. There's always links down in the description for my Facebook page and Pinterest page, and there's my Amazon link. If you're going to shop at Amazon, you can use that link and take you into Amazon, and I get a little commission to help keep the channel going. So feel free to use that. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up for now. I'll see you guys again on Tuesday at 10 a.m. And hopefully you all will have a great weekend, and hopefully we'll see you on a cruise real soon. This is Chillie, the Fat Travel Guide. Later, y'all.